Welcome back, everybody, as we look at the Double Masters 2022 set releasing on July 8th. We have already gone over a lot of the cards in the set, pretty valuable stuff. I was going to jump into the green today, but before I do need some caffeine. There we go. So with the green cards, I'm going to start with the Arachnus Spinner. This is a 6 mana 5/7 spider with reach. If you tap an untapped spider that you control, you can search your graveyard and or library for a card that is named Arachnus Web and put it onto the battlefield attached to target creature, and if you search your library this way, you do have to shuffle. Doesn't seem like a terrible card, especially since it does search for, hopefully, a card that you need. Okay, Arachnus Web, also getting reprint in this set. It's a 3 mana card, but it won't matter for this situation. But it's a enchant creature. The enchanted creature cannot attack or block. Activated abilities can be activated at the beginning of the next end step. If the enchanted creature power is 4 or greater, you do destroy this card. So it's nice that there's a way to pull that card back. So Arachnus Spinner gives you the ability to continue to reattach it, even if it's in your graveyard. So I can definitely see the value in this card. I actually do run it's more of a modern casual deck, but it's a spider worm combo deck. But this card definitely seems to have some value with it. So this is one of those cards where if I could get a hold of both Arachnus Web and Arachnus Spinner, definitely would put it into my deck. Next we have the Centaur Battlemaster, a 5 mana 3/3 Centaur Warrior with Heroic. So whenever you cast a spell that targets the card with Heroic, it does a thing. In this case, you put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Okay, not bad, not exciting. Then we have the Devoted Druid for 2 mana. It's a 0/2 Elf Druid. Tap it for a green mana, put a -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid, and untap Devoted Druid. So you tap it for a green, and anytime you are willing to give it a -1/-1 counter, you do get to untap it. Okay, not bad. It's not a great card, but elves tend to synergize well with buffing up a card and being able to get out, small creatures and then get them really big. So in this case, a -1/-1 counter wouldn't be a huge deal, I guess. So you can keep tapping it for mana. Definitely think that's a card that is interesting. Then we have the Green Sun's Zenith. I've seen a lot of these Zenith cards, but green is actually one of the ones I haven't seen yet. So it's 1 green X generic sorcery. Search the library for a green creature card with a mana value X or less. Put it on the battlefield and shuffle, and then you shuffle this into its owner's library. Wow, definitely seems like a good card. The card, I did a value check on it. It is going in this set for about $18. I think I could get some value out of this in my Dragon deck. I think it has some value in decks with Eldrazi's in them. So I definitely can see this card being worth some money. I can definitely see myself getting the value out of this card. So one of the cards that I'd hope that I get from one of the packs I open. But in general, a very good card. Then we have the Hardened Scales. This is a 1 mana enchantment. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, put that many +1 +1/+1 counters are put on it instead. So it just adds an additional +1/+1. Not as good as like Doubling Season or Parallel Lives, but a good card nonetheless. It's an $8 card out of this set, and still one of the cards I hope I can pull out of the packs I open. Then we have the Oracle of Moldiah, a 4 mana 2/2 Elf Shaman. It allows you to play an additional land on each of your turns. You play the top card of your library revealed, and you may play lands on the top of your library. I've seen this card in multiple decks that ran green, so I know this is a good card. I know the value you can get out of it. In this set, it's going for about $12 on the pre-sale, and I can definitely see why. This is a card that I would want to get my hands on, and it being an elf just makes it even crazier. But I don't personally run elves anyways. I just think this is a good card to run if you have synergy with being able to play lands and being able to play them. I know I've seen this in places where Crucible of Worlds is run and a few other things where you can play from your graveyard as well, and this just, in some ways, this just gives you an additional land drop. So you play 1 from your hand, 1 from your graveyard. I've seen it combo with Strip Mine, which is a land that sacks to destroy another land. So I know that this is a card that is good, and I'm looking forward to this price going down a little bit, so maybe I can get my hands on it. Don't really have a deck that makes a whole lot of sense to put this into yet, but this is one of those cards where I would try to run this and a few other things if I can get my hands on them and put them into a deck. Then we have Spider Spawning, a 5 mana sorcery. Create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach for each creature card that's in your graveyard, and it also has flashback. Yeah, I mean, it's a good card for a spider deck, I guess. It's a thematic card, so it's nice. And reach is always important. Then I have here the Travel Preparations, a 2-mana sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures, and it flashbacks for 2 mana, one of which must be white. Yeah, okay. Nothing crazy. And that's all the green cards that I have. And that brings us to the multicolored cards. I know in value we have quite a bit to go over in the multicolored, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. So some of these I might go over that I've already gone over, but I tried to make sure that anything that was really valuable, I separated out into a different list. That way I'm keeping track of them, and I can tell you guys what they're going for. I don't know if I've gone over the Abzan cards yet, but I have Abzan Ascendancy for the Abzan colors, which is white, black, green. And it's an enchantment that when it enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you get a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Definitely a good card. Then the Abzan Charm, same colors, and it's an instant where you choose one, exile a creature with power 3 or greater, draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life, or distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures. Not bad. But the first one I'm really excited to talk about is Aminatou, the Fate Shifter. So this is a white, blue, black Planeswalker. It comes in with 3 loyalty. I've never seen this card before. I've actually never even heard of this card before. So just to go over its loyalty abilities, because, you know, I like to know. The +1 loyalty is to draw a card and put a card from your hand on top of your library. -1 is to exile another target permanent that you own, and then return it to the battlefield under your control. A great way to get back cards that you've lost control of. -6 loyalty is you choose left or right, and then each player gains control of all non-land permanents other than this card, controlled by the next player in the chosen direction. So crazy. And this card can be your commander. You know what? I think I have heard of this card, but I don't think I've ever had to see this card before. This is a crazy card, though. This card in this set is going for about $8, and running this as your commander is just a shenanigans type deck. I think the idea is probably to have a bunch of cards that that hurt you, I guess, and then move control of the cards, and then gain, hopefully, in value from your opponent. But even if you don't gain value, you give one of your opponents, in whatever direction you need, a bunch of cards that hurt them or make their life just harder for no reason. And then, of course, you're doing this after the commanders have hit the board, I would imagine. So that way you're shifting control of commanders as well. It can really mess up the game. So definitely a good card. Don't know if I went over Anguish Unmaking, but this is in the set as well. A 3-mana, 1 generic, 1 white, 1 black instant. Exile a non-land permanent, you gain 3 life. Not a bad card. Don't know if I went over Arjun the Shifting Flame, a 6-mana 5/5 legendary Sphinx Wizard with flying. Whenever you cast a spell, put the cards in your hand on the bottom of your library in any order, then draw that many cards. Seen this one around before. Interesting card for sure. I think the next one I have that is valuable to go over with you guys is the Aurelia the War Leader. This is a 6-mana, it's 2 black, 2 white, 2 generic. Legendary Angel. It's a 3/4 with Flying, Vigilance, Haste, and whenever this attacks for the first time each turn, you untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. I've seen a number of cards that give you additional combat phases. I've seen them in a few decks. Not seen an Angel that does that, so this being run in an Angel deck is nasty, but luckily most Angel decks I see are mono white. That being said, this card has some value to it and is currently going in this set, which is the price dropping down, for about $30. So I understand this card has some serious value. Don't know if it runs in I don't know if it runs in an Angel deck, since like I said, most of them are mono white, but I'm sure this runs in a Warrior or like an Isshin deck. This has some serious power to it just by itself, and then synergizing it, the fact that it can be synergized with is even crazier. Let's see, a few other ones I don't know if we've gone over yet. Bear's Companion, a 5-mana, 1 green, 1 blue, 1 red, 2 generic, 2/2 human warrior that when it enters the battlefield, you get a 4/4 green bear creature token, which I think is really nice. Don't know if I went over the Boar Tusk Liege or not. This is a 4 mana, either green or red can be spent to create it. 3/4 Goblin Knight with trample. Other red creatures you control get +1/+1. Other green creatures you control get +1/+1. Okay. But the one I want to go over, the next one I was really excited to go over with you guys, is the Child of Alara. So this one runs all 5, you have to play Wuldberg, all 5 colors for this card. It's a 6/6 legendary avatar. It has trample, and when it dies, destroy all non-land permanents and they cannot be regenerated. Definitely a good card to run in a Wuldberg deck, and it is going in this set for about $12. Valuable card. One of the cards is going to be really hard to run though, so it's not a card that everyone's excited to get. It's one of those cards that specific people really want. I don't have a Wuldberg deck, but I do want this card because I am running at some point in Ur-Dragon deck. I don't know if this goes into it, but that'd be my first all-color deck. I might run cards like this. I don't know though. It's a board wipe in creature form, but it's also a creature that is a threat, so that's nice. Alright. Don't know if I went over some of these other cards, but we have the Conclave Mentor, a green-white 2/2 Centaur Cleric. If one or more with +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, that means +1/+1 counters, or put on that creature instead. When this dies, you gain life equal to its power. Not bad. Dax Duplicate, a 4 mana. It's Izzet with 2 generic. 0/0 Shapeshifter. It enters the battlefield. You may have it copy any creature on the battlefield, except that it will have haste and dethrone, which is whenever this creature attacks a player with the most life or tied for the most life, then this creature gets a +1/+1 counter on it. But the next card I was excited to talk about with you guys is the Dragon Lord Dromoka, a 6 mana, 1 green, 1 white, 4 generic, 5/7 legendary Elder Dragon. The spell can't be countered, it has flying, it has lifelink, and your opponents cannot cast spells during your turn. This is a card that I have to have in my Ur-Dragon deck, without a doubt. And the card is more affordable. It's still expensive. It's going for about $18 in this set. This is a card that I really, really want to get out of the set if I can, but we'll see. Then I have the Drogskull Reaver, a 7 mana, 1 white, 1 blue, 5 generic, 3/5 spirit. It is flying, double strike, lifelink, and whenever you gain life, you draw a card. A very powerful card, and it's going right now for about $13. Not bad. Then I have Dromoka's Command. Dromoka's Command is a green-white instant. Choose 2. Prevent all damage target instant or sorcery spell would deal this turn. Target player sacrifice an enchantment. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Or target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. I definitely see this card doing a lot of cool stuff. And obviously it's named after the Dragon Lord that we went over just a minute ago. So a card that I want in my deck just because it is dragon related, and part of me building a deck is just it being thematic. The card itself is okay though. I'm not super excited about it. I just, I think it could be good, and I don't think it'd be a waste of space in the deck, and it has dragons, so yeah. Next is a card that I've seen particularly from one of our regulars here at Caffeinated Gamers, Elenda the Dusk Rose, a 4 mana, 1 white, 1 black, 2 generic, 1/1 legendary vampire knight with lifelink. Whenever another creature dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and whenever she dies, you create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, X being her power. I think normally I see her being Voltroned up, and then when you kill her, she has a bunch of power that doesn't make any sense at all. The card itself is going for about $14 out of this set, so definitely some value to trying to pull this card. And in the deck that I did see this run in, it was the Commander. This is a card that you just build your deck around it, and it just ends up being that much more powerful. Next, I have the Imperial Archangel. Don't think we went over this one. This is a 4 generic, 1 green, 2 white, 1 blue, 5/8 angel with flying and shroud, and all damage that would be dealt to you is dealt to her instead. Good if you can give her indestructible, but she does have shroud, so it would be hard to do that. You pretty much have to get Avacyn out or something else that makes all your permanents indestructible. But definitely a good card. Just expensive. Another card I'm not sure we went over yet was Fiery Justice, 3 mana, 1 green, 1 red, 1 white. Sorcery, deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets, and target opponent gains 5 life. Not exciting. Figure of Destiny, a red or white, is a 1/1 Kiskin with a ton of abilities here. Either green or white can be spent, and this becomes a Kiskin Spirit with base power toughness 2/2. If you tap 3 mana, either mix of red and white, and this is a spirit, and it becomes a Kiskin Spirit Warrior with base power toughness 4/4. Or you tap 6 mana, and then if it's a warrior, then it becomes, is a warrior and becomes a warrior avatar, base power toughness 8/8, flying in for a strike. Lots of stuff going on there. Then we have Gave Guru of Spores. It's a 5 mana, 1 white, 1 black, 1 green, 0/0 legendary fungus shaman. Enters the battlefield with 5 +1/+1 counters. Tap a mana, remove a +1/+1 counter from it, from a creature you control, and you get a 1/1 sapperling. Tap 1, sacrifice a creature, and then put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So, seems like a good card. This is a mythic rare. It's about $3 in this set. Not bad. I mean, it seems like a good card. Alright, the next one that I'm excited to go over, though, is Glimpse the Unthinkable. A blue-black, so it's a Dimir, sorcery. Target player mills 10 cards. Definitely a card I want to run in my mill deck. I don't run my mill deck as much lately because I'm really excited about the dragon deck I have and where it's going, but this is a good card, and you definitely want to run this in a Dimir deck if you can. Next, I have the Grand Arbiter Augustine IV. A 4 mana, 1 white, 1 blue, 2 generic, 2/3 legendary human advisor. White spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Blue spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast. It's a really good card. Definitely, I've seen this in a few decks if you have these colors in them. It's one of the cards where if you have it, you definitely run it. In this set, it's going for about $12, so if you can get your hands on it now, it definitely will be the time for that. So I expect to see this in a few other decks. I don't know if I've gone over this one yet, but Guided Passage, a green, blue, and red sorcery. Reveal the cards in your library. An opponent chooses from among them a creature, a land, and a non-creature, non-land. You put the chosen cards into your hand and shuffle. Yeah, revealing your entire deck, though, doesn't seem all that great. But it is a card that is getting reprinted. I can see this having some shenanigans, for sure, but I don't see this card being all that exciting to run yourself. I think it's one of those cards where I hope someone else runs it so I can get to see someone else's deck. Alright, next I have the Hydroid Crassus, a card that I'm definitely excited to talk about here. It's a green and blue and then X generic, 0/0 Jellyfish Hydra Beast. When you cast a spell, you gain half X life and draw half X cards, round down each time. This card has flying, it has trample, and it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Just a really good card. It gives you some life gain, gives you some card draw, and gives you a threat in the board, all for 1 X cost. So, yes, you're only getting half the X for life and card draw, but you're establishing the threat at full X. So, I don't know. I think this is a really good card. Currently, in this set, it's going for about $7 in the pre-sale. So, I definitely think this is a card that ends up being run. I think in just a Hydra deck, X spells are a thing that Hydra decks specialize in. So this reprint I think will be valuable in those if they already run blue. And I have to imagine they do with the value that the card is currently at, so I don't think it'll be that hard to put it in. Another card I was really excited to talk about was, well, I guess we'll get to it in a minute. Because I also want to talk about Lava Lance here, which is a black, red, green, X generic sorcery, dealing X damage to target player or planeswalker, and each creature that player or that planeswalker's controller controls. So, definitely does a bunch of damage to everybody. Seems like a good card. Then I also have the Magister Sphinx. Is a white, blue, black, 4 generic, 5/5 artifact creature Sphinx with flying. When it enters the battlefield, target player's life total becomes 10. So it's like a $3 card right now in this set. It's a valuable card, I think, for a Sphinx deck to have, and with it running blue and white, this is blinkable, so you just keep blinking it in, so everybody has 10 life points except for you. And yeah, it's late game though, 7 mana, but if you can pull it out, if you can cheat out this creature, then that also helps. So definitely a good card. But yes, the card that I really want to talk about is that we're seeing Nicol Bolas, the God Pharaoh. This is a planeswalker I have seen a lot, I've heard a lot about. This is a blue, black, red, 4 generic, comes in with 7 loyalty, a legendary planeswalker, Bolas, which is his name. This is not the strongest one I've seen, but that's because I consider dragons to be very strong. But yes, seeing him come in the set is absolutely crazy. He's in this set going for about $5, this version of him. So definitely one of the cards that I hope to pull anyways, because he's a good one. Going over his loyalty abilities a little bit here is his +2 loyalty is target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. And then until the end of the turn, you get to play that card without paying its mana cost. Its +1 loyalty is that each opponent exiles 2 cards from their hand. But then its minus abilities is it has a -4 where it deals 7 damage to target opponent, or it can do it to a creature that an opponent controls, or a planeswalker that an opponent controls. Jeez, small text there. Its -12 is the craziest one, so I want to make sure I got it right. That you exile each non-land permanent that your opponents control. So definitely, if you can get him to the 12, he just board wipes everything, and then you end up winning because you keep all your stuff. Especially since responding to a planeswalker ability is difficult. Not impossible, but it is difficult. So this is a card that I'm excited to see in the set. Again, not the one I'd want to see, but I'm excited that the price of the card will go down a little bit, and maybe I can have a copy of them. I don't really run a blue, black, red, but I know people who do now that Streets of New Capenna is out. Might be a card you just try to include in. Next we have the Psychic Symbiont, a 6 mana, 1 blue, 1 black, 4 generic, 3/3 Nightmare Horror with flying. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards a card, and then you get to draw a card. Yeah, I mean, it's expensive, not exciting. Just want to make sure we went over the fact that it's in the set. It's a horror, Dimir, synergizes well with a precon from Baldur's Gate, that horror one. So this could do some crazy stuff in there because it's flying and hard to block. In addition to the fact that with your commander out, it would have menace. So does some awesome stuff there. And then Rafiq of the Many. This is a 4 mana, so this is a green, white, blue, 3/3 legendary human knight. It has Exalted, so whenever a creature that you control attacks by itself, it gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn. Anyways, the ability that's crazy with this card is that whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until the end of the turn, which is absolutely crazy if you attack the right thing. And in addition to that, this card has the colors for it to be human synergistic, knight synergistic, so it does a lot of crazy stuff with the colors that it has, with its ability. Attacking alone is Exalted specifically isn't anything I see a lot of, but I know a lot of human samurai type of stuff that I see, but I think the Exalted is more powerful with Isshin, but Isshin doesn't, you have to run red if you run Isshin, you have to run black if you run Isshin, you can't run blue if you run, so there's a lot of crazy stuff, unfortunately, that doesn't work well with, but the card has still got some value to it. It's pre-selling right now at about $5, and it normally goes for like 15, so that's not bad. It's still a good card to see. But the card that I was excited to go over was Supreme Verdict, which, just before I go over the card itself, the art on this card is just beautiful. I'm a weather geek, so I just really like to see like just the cloud swirling that way, but also the like this holy light coming down the center instead of like say a tornado. I love that. So this is a 2 white, 1 blue, 1 generic sorcery. It's a spell that cannot be countered, and you destroy all creatures. It is an extremely effective board wipe. It just does an exile, so it doesn't get around indestructible, and of course doesn't get around phasing out what does. So this is a card that is still really good to run for 4 mana. Yes, it requires white and blue though in its cost, but I think that's why you're getting the discount, and I think this card is very effective. So if you're running white blue, I think you run this board wipe, and if I can get a hold of it, I definitely want to. The card's currently going pre-selling for about $8, so definitely hoping I get a hold of this card. Alright, another card that I'm excited to go over is the 1000-Year Storm. This is a 6 mana enchantment. It's blue, red, and then 4 generic enchantment that whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you copy it for each other instant and sorcery spell that you've cast before it this turn, and you may choose new targets for the copies. So I think that this is an enchantment you get on the board, and if it sits there until your next turn, it does some crazy, crazy stuff. It's expensive enough to where I don't think you can pull off doing anything else after you play this card. So this is a card, it's pre-selling for about $5. It's still valuable, and it's a card I want to get a hold of. Again, Weather Geek, so it's also really nice art on the card. But I don't think this is a card that I expect to see a lot of successful plays with. I think it takes it sitting on the board and it being later in the game. I think that a lot of things have to go right for this card to do really well, but it's valuable for a reason. So if it's sitting at above $1 in my mind, that always means that someone found a good use for it, which means I can too. I want to go over a couple other cards in multicolor, but that was the last really valuable card I was going to go over. We have Thraximunder. It's a 7 mana, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, 4 generic, 6/6 legendary zombie assassin with haste. When it attacks, defending player sacrifices a creature. Whenever a player does sacrifice a creature, you may put a +1/+1 counter on him. Not bad. Tower Gargoyle, if I haven't already gone over it, a 4 mana, 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 generic, 4/4 artifact gargoyle with flying. I mean, it's just there. But yeah, so those are the cards I want to go over. So that does it for our multicolored cards. Next time we talk, we'll be going over the colorless and the artifact cards. But this should do it for all the cards we had to go over today. So until next time, later gamers.